St. Simon's Island in Georgia. It's a windy day. As you can see, the sand on this massive beach is getting blown big time, creating a strange looking effect of sand just flying. Look at this. Oh, whoops. Now I get my shadow out of it. There we go. It's a neat effect though. You just don't see this every day. Except for us amateur photographers, of course. Not too many people out on the beach. Yes, indeed. Look at that. The blowing sands. It's a windstorm.
And then in August, the sow, the female alligator, will have her hatchlings. And unlike any other reptile, she watches her little ones for about a year. Every other reptile just leaves them. They're on their own. Turtles, for instance. But an alligator will protect her young for a year. And so in August, you're worried about the female alligators getting between her and her little ones. But other than those time periods, these alligators really don't care too much. They're pretty non-aggressive. Now here's our sign of spring over to the right at 3 o'clock. Everywhere. What's called Golden Club. It also is known by the name Never Wet. The leaves do not, the water beads right off of them. Where we are now is called the Suwannee Canal. And the Suwannee Canal is historic. It was first cut in 1891 by a company that bought land, this whole refuge, the land it encompasses, from the state of Georgia for 25 cents an acre. With the idea being to cut this canal 15 miles into the swamp and then 5 miles behind us through an ancient sand dune called Trail Ridge to the St. Mary's River and drain the swamp. So the idea then was drain the swamp to make farmland. They were unsuccessful. They went out of business doing this. Even though they did start doing industrial logging, which they and a company called the Hebbard Cypress Company out of Pennsylvania did for about 30 years in here around the turn of the century. And they took almost 1 billion board feet of cypress out of this swamp. But the first company went bust. Hebbard took over. They were successful in their industrial logging. And then they turned it back over to sold it back to the federal government in 1937. And it's been a national wildlife refuge since. Now, some are very common, and we'll see some of those, like the alligator.
I was just thinking, it's the first time I've ever been here where the leaves were still not on the trees yet that dive out. So you can really see things that you couldn't ordinarily see because of that.
And so we see a little vestige of the winter things, and of course the leaves not on the deciduous trees, but we'll also see some signs of spring, and I'll point those out. Every day now, we're seeing more and more things bloom for spring.
You stay open all year round?
We're open all year round.
Depending on the weather.
Most people don't come in the heat of summer. It's just very hot and muggy. This is a perfect time to come if the weather's cooperating.
Does it ever freeze? Does it ever freeze?
No. Well, I mean, you're talking about the water freeze?
Yes,
No, it does not. strangely enough, we had 2 inches of snow here this winter, which is completely unusual.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. And there was some ice in the trees.
Oh, okay.
But no ice on the water.
No ice on the water. Oh, you have other boaters too.
When it gets colder?
They don't. Here's an alligator up here to our front left. And when it's colder, they go through a thing called bromation. And bromation just means they slow down. They don't do much. They don't hunt. They just stay in their lane.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Oh, I see it.
Oh, there's several.
That's a pretty big alligator there.
Oh, I see him now.
Ooh, that is a big one. So what he's doing is he's warming up those osteoderms in his back.
His what?
Those little ribby things in the back.
Okay.
Okay, those are bones. And as a reptile, he's cold-blooded, so he needs solar energy in order to go hunt.
Okay.
So that you will see alligators today. Here's another one, little one.
There's a little one. Yep.
Notice how he's more concerned than the larger one.
His head's right up there looking.
The larger one has no concerns about it. But they do need the sun's energy in order to go and hunt. Otherwise, they just stay in their hole and they will submerge, and they just don't eat. They can go without eating for several weeks.
Oh, really?
In the winter
One
time.
back in there too.
Yep. There's one back in there.
Boy, you're really good. They don't want it to be obvious, and it's not obvious, you know.
There's an alligator there.
She makes that so she can get in there, right?
She can get in there and she can put her eggs in.
And then once she lays her eggs, she leaves. You never
She'll,
go back in.
she will go back in. She doesn't need to sit on them though.
Okay.
Because they'll be warm enough with the decaying plant material. It stays warm enough. Remember, we're talking a summer in South Georgia. But she will stay close to protect that den from any mammal that might get in there. Okay, we had an egret cross right in front, the white bird.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. We might see some wading birds. As we come out on the prairie, we're about to take a left turn onto Cheshire Prairie. See what I'm talking about? I say that, prairie. Florida red cooter.
Red, it doesn't show any red on it.
He's got a little bit of red on his shell.
Is that where it is?
And you know, that breastplate is kind of orangish. It's kind of got a reddish tint to it to distinguish him from the normal Florida cooter, which we also have here. He's got that little red on his shell. Now, the word cooter, of course, is a West African Gullah Geechee word that African Americans brought with them from Africa. That's how we know, that's why we call them cooters. Spanish moss. It's neither Spanish or moss. It's an epiphyte. It's an air plant. And you'd think, oh gosh, it's parasitic, it's killing these cypress trees, but it is not. They coexist quite nicely. You know, and if you look at the top of the cypress tree, you'll see the last year's dead needles, but you don't see a lot of Spanish moss in the top. And that's where the canopy and the green is for the cypress to photosynthesize. You don't see it as, you don't have as many green shoots on the lower limbs where the Spanish moss is. But it loves the cypress, and it also, of course, on the upland areas here in the south, it loves the live oak tree, our state tree.
Pretty well.
Yes.
It is very pretty in the way it creates. It's beautiful, you know. It's so different.